What's up, you guys? I hope you guys are having an awesome Tuesday. Let's see, do I have anything on my teeth? I just finished drinking my shake, so you know that spinach, it likes to hide in there. But I hope you guys are having an awesome Tuesday, and I titled this video like Bursting Bubbles, and that's kind of the attitude I had when I first started waking up to my reality. Basically, don't pick up a book if you ever wanna, if you wanna stay comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, don't pick up a book. Like, I've never been a reader before. I've never, I just, dude, I was a C minus, like, average student. And that's just something that I accepted for myself. As far as academics go, I'm not really down with memorizing. At least that's how it felt all the time. It just felt like I was always memorizing something, and then test day came around. It's like, shoot, what do I remember? I just never felt passionate about it, and it just wasn't until I think it was like I think I was like 18 and a half. Like, it was just not even too long after high school when I actually like picked up a book that captured my attention. And basically it was all about like studying myself. Like, it was all about habits. It's called The Compound Effect. It was like the first book I ever read. Actually, that's a lie. It's the second book, because the first book I ever read was Jose Canseco's book. I don't even know the title of it, but he wrote like an autobiography. I don't know if any of you have read it before, but it was a good book. It's about steroids and stuff, and I just read it. I don't know, but that was the first book. But the second book was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and it really woke me up to my reality. Basically, it was all about taking responsibility and taking responsibility with the way that I go about life. Taking responsibility for what I do, for what I don't do, for how I react to whatever is done or said to me. Just really taking ownership of my life. And it was a really cool way to like dip my toes, into this whole realm of like personal development. Eventually, it led me to another great guy, great teacher. His name's Jim Rohn, and I don't know if he's, I don't know if he's responsible for this quote, but I know that there's this quote that I really love, and for some reason I always think that it's him. I should just look it up, if any of you want to look it up. But the quote is basically, you're either in the midst of a struggle, you're coming out of one, or you're gonna get a phone call tomorrow. Like, we're all struggling, and what it really says to me is, like, Adrian, you're never gonna have the right moment for anything. And the reason why that really speaks to me is because I suffer from what I now call perfection paralysis, where basically, like, I just don't take action if I don't feel like it's the right moment, or if I'm just not understanding it, correct, like to my satisfaction. I just like fail to take action. I call it perfection paralysis because I really just don't take action until I either understand it or I feel good about it. And that's really affected every area of my life. It's just one of those things that has brought inconsistency into my life, and it goes further than health and fitness. It goes into even relationships, with the way I show up. And if I'm not feeling, all the way there with someone, I just totally back out, and that's always been tough. The same thing goes with work, or with my faith. I just kind of, if I don't feel right, I don't do it, and it's like, and it's a really silly thing, because when I really think about it, I just, I realize that feelings are always flip-flop, and really what you have to do is you have to trust. You have to trust the people that have made it, and you have to be open to learning. And I've been learning that, more about that, about being coached, being coachable, and trying to just kind of take a step, one step at a time, um, and just trusting the process. Like that is just something that's been really speaking to me lately. Trusting the process, um, and just walking, sometimes walking by faith, and that's always been tough for me again, because if I don't feel right, if it doesn't feel great, then I don't do it, or if I don't fully understand it, then I don't do it. And I bet I have missed out on amazing opportunities, maybe amazing friendships, only because of this fear of mine to not be ready, or to feel incapable, or to just be afraid of failure, and I feel like I've probably missed out on a lot of that. So, um, I guess I'm just making I guess I'm just getting on here to just say how, to just talk about how that's kind of horse manure. It's horse manure when it comes to listening to your feelings in that way, and listening to your fear specifically, letting your fear like cage you in. And something that I've learned, I don't know if you guys saw, but I was able to drive out with my wife and a good friend of mine, Homero. We drove out to Portland, Oregon, and we dove into this training, and we thought it was going to be like this business training, but it was actually like internal, like deep skeletons in the closet kind of training, that would help us move forward with what we actually have to do in life, because it's our feelings, it's our fears that keep us from taking action. And I guess what I was going to say is, I'm like totally diving off what I was going to say. But what I was really trying to say is that mediocrity has really killed my momentum, and mediocrity has really killed my goals. And just that starting over, that start, stop, has really killed my almost my belief, to the point where I felt hopeless about my future, to the point where I just felt incompetent, and I constantly questioned myself for even my purpose. Maybe you've been there, but I know for sure that I have. I know that I think the thing that really stressed me out for many years was feeling like I was stuck. And my frustration really came from believing in myself, but not seeing myself take action. And it was like a Ferrari stuck in traffic. Like, who wants to see a Ferrari stuck in traffic? Like, that's not what the Ferrari was made for, you know what I mean? And that's how I felt for many, many years. My frustration was in that being stuck and feeling hopeless. And that was scary, and something that I guess something to bring it back home to that to the event that I went to. There they helped me realize that basically I was the one creating that traffic. I was the one caging myself in with all my fears, with all my perfection, with all my expectations, and if I just was willing to let go of those fears of judgment, of what people would say or wouldn't say, of what of failure, my fear of failures, my fear of just maybe not being worthy, or my fear of just not being loved by other people. If I was willing to get rid of those fears, and if anything, every time that fear showed up in my life, if I was willing to just actually use that as an invitation for courage to step in. So again, if every time that fear showed up in my life, if I use that sign, that feeling of fear, if I use that as a sign for courage to step in, kind of like a green light, like, hey, courage, where you at? You know what I mean? Like, if I use that, then I could be that Ferrari that really just, took life by the horns. And and the thing is that it's not just one of those things that you just realize. It's one of those things that you really have to put into practice, and that you really have to flex that muscle. You know, you have to grow that muscle every day, every day. And I think that's why I'm on here today. Really, I'm on here to maybe be a little more vulnerable with you guys and show you guys that I'm not all, you know, cheerful all the time. Hey, you know what I mean? No, like I I just don't want to be like that positive guy on social media. Um, I just want to be real with you, and it's such an awesome opportunity. If you've watched this video so far, I mean to this point, I just want to thank you for your time. And if there's anything that I can do for you, like just to hear you out with your fears, dude, talk to me, because I think talking about it really helps a lot. So if you've lent me your ears for this long, I will lend you mine. But you know, with that said, I had to burst my bubble of perfection paralysis, my bubble full of fears, and doubts, insecurities, and I have to burst that bubble like every day, dude, and just show up, man. Show up to your life and burst those bubbles. Get yourself out of that bubble and get yourself uncomfortable. You know, if a Ferrari's stuck in traffic, that's one thing, but if the Ferrari is going, right? If it's going, guess what it's risking? It's risking to go at a fast pace and to crash, right? To crash. It's risking to get into an accident. But what are you more afraid of? Are you more afraid of getting stuck in traffic, or are you more afraid of, you know, being free and then maybe maybe crashing every now and then and needing a tire repair? You know what I mean? A bumper repair. I think that for me the biggest fear is just not living to my potential. And so I had to burst that bubble, you know, and get rid of that traffic, that mental, emotional, you know, blockade, you know, that I was just creating for myself in my life. So, you know, just to let you guys go, there's never going to be a bright moment. There just never will be for anything that you ever want to do. And that's what I'm really realizing, that there's just never a right moment. And I think we all know we get the same amount of hours throughout the day. And and it really just comes down to making priorities. Yes, you know, getting rid of those fears, and once you do that, it's like making those priorities, getting clear about those priorities, because you can't have, you know, a list of priorities that's like 10 priorities. Like, that's not a priority, dude. You have to get really clear. Like, it can't be more than like, I don't know, 5, like, I don't know, but it just can't be like 10, you know? So you have to get really clear about those things. And like, do they contradict each other? You know? Like, if you're like for me, this is the last thing I'll say. For me, financial debt, okay? That's a priority. Get out of that debt, create financial freedom for my family. But if I'm over here spending time, like, hanging out with buddies, and, you know, and my priorities to, like, go to the games or go to the concerts or something, it doesn't match. I'm not saying my friends are important, or, you know, all these other things are important, but you know what I mean? Like you gotta see which ones are more important, because some of them might really conflict with others. And so once we get rid of that fear, once we get clear on how we can be courageous whenever fear steps in, because we're never going to get completely rid of fear, at least not until we're in heaven. But every time that we do feel the fear coming into us, you know, letting courage step in, and then getting clear about those priorities, so that way we can really take life by the horns, be that Ferrari that just cruises through. And sure, we might run the risk we might run the risk of running into something, maybe a deer down the road, right? but that's better than being stuck in traffic. feeling like the Ferrari stuck in traffic. That's not what you were created to do. You were not created to be complacent, to be safe. And, and if you're anything like me, maybe you're unhappy about what you've accomplished so far, but you're not unhappy to do anything about it. And it's just not going to change until you decide to just draw that line. Until you draw that line on the dirt, on the floor, on the dirt, on the sand. That's what I was trying to say. Draw the line on the sand, and decide that you are tired of being tired, and that you deserve better, and that your standards could be higher. Because that's what I had to do, and it was just a long, hard look in the mirror, and you better believe I still do that every day, even right now, as I look into this camera. Even right now, you just gotta look at yourself in the mirror and decide what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not willing to tolerate anymore. How much you're getting compensated at work, or what you're putting up with in your friends or your family, your values, you know what I mean? Like, how are you gonna you gotta burst that bubble. And you gotta get rid of that fear of what people are gonna say or whatever, because the last thing that you'll ever feel is either you're gonna feel pain at the end, but the pain that you'll feel is up to you. You can either feel the pain of discipline because you worked your ass off and you did what needed to get done, or you're gonna feel the pain of regret. The pain of not living up to your potential. And that pain is a whole lot more painful. And that's what scares me. That's what gets me out of bed. That's what keeps me going. So, I hope you keep going. And I hope you muster the courage. Pray for that courage to burst out of that bubble. And go start kicking some ass. So go have a great day. Peace.